Fuck her off, Marines! I sure as hell ain't hosing out your pod!
Halo 3 ODST has an achievement called Vidmaster Challenge Classic, where you have to finish any mission solo on Legendary without shooting or throwing grenades. Essentially, a pacifist mission. It was pretty easy to blitz through Uplift Reserve, but can we make this challenge harder? Can we play the entire game as a pacifist? We're playing ODST on the Master Chief Collection with no skulls on Heroic. I legit don't think Legendary is possible. We cannot injure enemies in any way. No shooting, grenades, melee, or splattering. However, we can incite violence by trading weapons with allies and letting them fire in my vehicles. Now, we're playing an FPS, so shooting is sometimes required, so I will tally up every enemy harmed and unharmed, then show the numbers at the end of the video. Welcome to Halo 3 ODST Pacifist. First, we wake up in our drop pod and immediately have to break the rules. We have to access the superintendent, but it doesn't let us do that until we kill every enemy in the area. This is why I enabled scoring, so you'll see points whenever I'm forced to kill an enemy, and also see how many times I die. I'll let you know now that I have every audio log collected, so I have access to the supply caches around the city, which will be useful later on. The next encounter is a courtyard full of grunts. This is a preview to most of my strategies, jumping, zigzagging, and hoping I make it through. Then I get to Dare's helmet with no issue. At the score screen we see my score and such, and by pressing RB we see a breakdown of everyone I killed. Tayari Plaza time, which means Nathan Fillion time. We're so determined to rescue Dare that we boldly rush past the first enemy drop. In more detail, my general strategy is to always assume I'm surrounded by enemies, so I use as much cover as possible, especially for my rear. Additionally, I scour areas for health packs if I have to repeat engagements. In addition to zigzagging, I also have to do-si-do at these security doors because the Covenant like to make me dance. As you can tell, you can run past every engagement in this mission. The end is a little hairy here as I hide behind a truck, get backsmacked, then sprint past some gold hunters. Ending the mission is really easy because you don't need to eliminate the grunts to access Dare's pod. Interesting note about the score screen is that if you don't kill anything, you can't use RB, just nothing happens. I know that makes sense, I just thought there would be like some zeros or something. Streets 2 is our first taste of every street section being kind of boring. I love Mombasa Streets, but in the name of becoming a morally superior pacifist, most of the time I'm just scanning the map for enemy patrols and evading them. Nothing of note happens until we get the drone piece. Uplift Reserve is where I think everyone got their Vidmaster achievements. It's very easy to skip every single enemy. First you grab the abandoned Warhog on the right, and then you're supposed to drive through the exit.
Watch that chopper! Hit it head on and it'll tear us to pieces!
I have never had that happen before, and I'm so glad it's recorded. Drive past these wraiths, ghosts, and chopper, then take an abandoned ghost. Now we take a pleasant ride through the park and enjoy the sights and sounds of nature. Or warfare, I guess. If you hold A with the ghost, you quote-unquote handbrake it, which raises the nose, which allows you to fly up this like 80-degree incline here. Second platoon is complaining about some wraiths, but I just want to continue my tour, so I drive past the vehicles and listen to the aural garbage coming through the comms.
Coming to carry that slipped away from the city? We need to secure its own
Where's the
LZ.
colonel?
Snatch a tier 1 asset. Covenant LZ. Where's the rest of your team?
Scattered's dead. I don't know.
That's too bad.
The elevator!
All the men we
Incoming!
Once again, handbrake the levitating vehicle to scale this cliff, then go past the LZ. Then fly out the hole in the zoo wall. The chieftain says,
"And no human escape to say what they have seen!"
And I never knew what he meant by that, so if you have any ideas, please comment down below. Despite the fact that I restarted the mission after the head-on collision, I was still credited that one ghost kill, so I had to redo the entire mission. Streets 3, easy for me. I take a longer path to avoid the roundabout with 4 plasma turrets, then I walk even longer to find a mongoose, because I will absolutely need one to get to ONI Alpha Site. I assume there's a closer mongoose spawn, but I couldn't find a map that showed what spawned in each supply cache. I also grabbed some rockets to hopefully bring into Data Hive and give to Dare once we get there. Kizingo Boulevard is the mission I've been worried about. It's supposed to be a relaxing scorpion rampage, but we can't do no shooty this time. To start, I tried to just run past the Wraith and Phantom to no avail. So I went full send and drove the unmanned tank through, and it worked! Who knew tanks were tanky? I take a pit stop at the 2nd Marine Squad's location. I didn't think my tank could survive another sprint, so I tried running to another unmanned tank across the roundabout to no avail. So I went full send and drove straight through the turrets, then all the way to Dutch. Who knew tanks were so tanky? I give my rockets to Dutch and let him go crazy. Both wraiths must be destroyed to open the security doors, and Dutch does so in a semi-timely manner. Then the doors open and he takes his time thinning out the Covenant. I outfit the Marines with a sniper and other kinda useful weapons, then I do a very pacifist thing and hide in a doorway. In the firefight map Rally Point and in Streets, the inside of this building is accessible, but in Kizingo we just get the doorway. It takes about 10 minutes for Dutch and the Marines to kill every enemy, except the Wraith. It took me about 24 minutes to get here, and it took another hour to kill this one Wraith. The cliff notes are that Dutch magnetizes to 2 spots with terrible sightlines to the Wraith. He shoots at the bodies of enemies, so he just hits the ground when aiming for the Wraith because he can only see the top. I tried kiting the Wraith into various positions to give Dutch better sight lines, and I tried giving Dutch different power weapons to see if that would do anything. I also hitched a ride on the Wraith just to see if, like, something would happen, and yeah, nothing good happened. At least Dutch's dialogue can be pretty entertained.
You are one powerful, ugly creature. I didn't bring enough clean drawers for one more fight like that. What, you never saw a real ladies' man before? Ready to meet my maker, Mickey. How about you?
Real funny, Dutch.
No looky-loo when there's fighting to do.
Dutch, this ain't time to kid around.
As a reminder, I did not turn on I would have been your daddy, so the ODSTs just say this stuff. Then I got impatient and started watching Dutch kill stuff, which was a really big time waster. Every reset, I would watch YouTube for about 10 minutes, just, for Dutch to kill all the enemies and poke my head out and see what's going on. But Dutch told me that the mission was over. My plan was to go into theater mode for each of these missions and do some cool cinematic angles of stuff, but my theater mode files would crash only a few seconds after starting, so I will never know how Dutch managed to kill this Wraith, but oh boy am I thankful. Streets 4, boring no more. I immediately run through the building to evade incoming jetpack brutes, then head for my mongoose, and find it's gone. So I go all the way back to the supply cache for another. While checking my map, I get jump scared by brutes and drive the total opposite direction by accident. Getting into Alpha Site is quite a task. I have to do-si-do a patrol outside the security door, drive through Rally Point with a large enemy horde, a phantom, and snipers, then get through a tunnel of grunts. Second time's the charm when I grab some more health and manage to make it through with a little bit more dancing. ONI Alpha Site is an odd mission where we do absolutely nothing. You're supposed to start by arming charges and blowing up the bridge, but Mickey and the NMPD officer will do both for you if you wait long enough. Next step is going to the inner courtyard and assisting the Marines. I give them snipers and Spartan lasers, then get some rockets from an alcove and hand them to Mickey. To trigger the next wave, the hunter pair must be killed, and once again, nobody feels like fighting. I work on kiting the hunters, and this heroic Marine not only murks one, but single-handedly splazers both. What a hero. Next wave spawns and I hide in the rocket launcher alcove. I think a certain number of enemies need to die to open up Alpha Site. However, this doesn't stop me from being impatient and looking for power weapons, so I give up and hide. Until I get impatient again and stare at this chieftain. His cohorts notice me and I play Ring Around the Rosie, badly I might add, until the building doors open up. I give my allies some new toys and hide. My allies have to kill a few waves and a couple drops from the back. I think Mickey was angry at Dutch's incompetence in Kizingo Boulevard, so he cleared out everyone quite quickly. One drone elevator ride later and we need to clear the landing pad. I think Mickey got angry at Dutch for once again not doing anything, so he tried to involve me in his MMA match. As an apology, I give him a shoddy, which is against MMA rules, I think. Then I continued to apologize in the Pelican ride out. I dive into Streets 5, where I learned that you do keep your mongoose, but it's parked at a different spot. At least I didn't have to go back and get jump scared again. Nothing to say except I still can't grab Romeo Sniper all these years later. I didn't expect much from NMPD HQ. You can typically run right to the end, so I gave Buck my sniper and went for it. Which didn't work. So I decided to be patient and let Buck thin the herd, but he really didn't seem to be shooting his gun. Plan C was running through the back hallways to the next set of corridors, but that didn't work either. Strangely, I took refuge on the second exposed landing pad and it was totally safe. Also, Buck got dragged over into this section. This step was the first in an hour-long process to complete this mission. Running is not an option. I have to wait for Buck to clear the area. While watching the handsome man work, I noticed that his kill speed was very low, like he'd get some kills, but nowhere near as quickly as my other AI allies. I theorized that some weapons made the AI fire slower, so maybe a carbine would make Buck shoot more often and effectively. And I think this strategy worked out. We eventually crawled towards the stairs, but there were still too many enemies to run past.
Here's a C4 enema for you.
So I spent quite a while moving this crate towards its ledge. I baited the brutes to the left, then hopped right on the box to the ledge and finally made it to the safe area. Next, I gave Buck the sniper back to pick off the jackals, but I noticed that the jump pack brutes that normally hop over weren't advancing. So I beelined it for the next area's landing pad to drag Buck forward. I know a chieftain is waiting at the exit door, so I move up to trigger him and hopefully make the enemies spread out. What I didn't expect was Buck to charge in and take the aggro, so we both ran on by like we planned it. Buck cleans up the pad, I grab a field rod, and I watch this sniper run all the way down this beam, and I had no idea that they could do this. What's normally the coolest part of the campaign is reduced to hiding behind the Pelican. I give Dutch a field rod and Buck a sniper and let my 4 invincible allies take out the Covenant, which they do in a tidy 10 minutes. Impressive, but this will probably be the last time I'm impressed with my friends. Street 6, no tricks, just evade the incoming Phantom, then drive to the train station. Kikowani Station is like Uplift Reserve in that you never need to fight anything.
Sure. What's the hurry, right? I'll just sit here bleeding through my foam.
I let Mickey pick off some coveys, then I rush forward to ethically fly an unmanned Banshee while he maliciously steals the Phantom. With all the boys cozy, we fly through the first door, wait for the second to open, fly to the next door, hop out to open it, fly to the next, and wait for it to open. The next door requires us to go on foot through a big group of coveys. It was surprisingly easy to skirt past everyone, including the Hammer Chieftain, by just moving to the right. I open the door and head to the Banshee, but the Scarab cross-maps me. On the second try, I don't get marked, but I do discover that the brutes chase you out of the door. Like, I'm in the Banshee at the end of the path and they are still chasing me down. I never noticed until this run, but the mission objective is to evade or kill the Scarab, and of course I'll take the former. The Scarab does make me dance while opening the door though, but I get through. Even though it seems like the path is clear and you can fly straight out, you have to destroy one of the engineer houses. The Phantom goes into this corridor but doesn't move far enough forward to shoot these houses, so I have to do the dirty work. However, I'm only credited for killing 2 houses and 1 engineer, so I suppose that 1 engineer will be forever blamed for the deaths of his brethren. Street 7 is pretty, intimidating. We need to run 115 meters to Data Hive, and it can seem pretty scary. The left path has a Field Rod Chieftain, Brute Pack, and Snipers. The right has Hunters and Jump Pack Brutes. But you can just really drive straight to the door, and as long as you don't die while pressing RB, you're fine. Data Hive starts with my disappointment that I don't keep my rockets. You can run right past a few enemies at the start using various geometry for cover. The real challenge starts in these data stack areas. I bait the first squad so I can jet past, then jump over the next. We meet the NMPD officer who will follow us deeper into Data Hive because I have every audio log. However, we cannot trade out his shotgun. Enemy groups are denser, but running and jumping does the trick. In the stacks, I grab a carbine and watch the officer bravely charge a Jackal Phalanx. I was gonna let him be a distraction, but he runs ahead of me. I end up impromptu racing him to the last stack. I think the Cubbies were rooting for me because they decided to throw grenades instead of shooting and let me jump on them like Mario. The race ends with Brutes peppering the officer and he just froze in terror or something while I moved on. Into the cryo space where I move past the first group and foil an entire pack and chieftain with a single pillar. The group after this must die to progress, so I drag the officer down to them, is what I would like to say. For the officer to progress in the level, he must get past the many brutes here, then kill the chieftain on his own. Then he has to get into the room with the final audio log. When he does turn heel, he does move a decent distance out of that room, but he gets stuck on these servers here and won't keep going. Therefore, I must be the one to kill this squad. We meet Dare and I give her the carbine. Next part of note is Chasm 10. Instead of cruelly culling a hive of Yanma? I don't know. I jump to this sub-level with machinery and stuff and jump around till I find a ladder and then move on. Also, the random yellow arrow you see is the officer who I assume is still fighting the brutes. The next roadblock seems innocuous. 2 brutes and a hammer chieftain. Dare can handle the brutes while I kite the chieftain like the last zombie in Gino der Toten. When Dare is done, I try to kite the chieftain into her fire, which is way harder than it seemed. One attempt, I was knocked onto this weird buttress structure. I thought the chieftain fell into the void, but apparently he fell down here with me. For some reason, his AI is entirely disabled, so I work on pushing him, hugging him and pulling him back onto the map. However, I hugged too hard and sent us both into the abyss. Next attempt, he aggroes so hard on Dare he knocks himself onto another buttress. Once again, I try to pull him back onto the map and he so unfortunately falls to his doom. We party up with Virgil and I have to escort him past phantoms and another horde. I make the responsible decision to run to Buck and hopefully drag Virgil over. Damn. My checkpoint here is pretty bad, but before I can make a plan, Virgil comes to me like a golden retriever. And like a good dog owner, I body block him to keep him alive. Virgil floats into a shaft and awakens a whole drone swarm. I have no idea how me or Virgil survived this, because I just kind of run and jump wildly, but thankfully we made it. Drones chase us out and we ride the elevator into the final mission. Coastal Highway starts with, of course, skipping the first encounter. I also grab a sniper and rockets here to prep for the final firefight. The sour part of the mission is the entire highway. Even though Buck is shooting the Covenant and I'm just the driver, I get credit for the kills. I was planning on just fast forwarding the entire mission, but 3 minutes of 400% sped up footage with barely any commentary sounds terrible. So I'll leave a link to the full uninterrupted mission in the description to keep myself accountable. I grab a field rod for Buck and make him sit shotgun as it's more effective than the turret. I try my best to avoid splattering infantry, but this jackal group right here just really wanted to taste my bumper. I grab a second fuel rod for Dare and get caught off guard by this drone swarm, who jack my car and punch me to death, which is laughable that a bug punched someone to death. Next time I forget the fuel rod, but I do move Buck to the turret and let him get his anger out. Moving Buck into different vehicles and positions is like a minigame in this mission. We swap to the Goshawk and Buck really goes crazy. He makes up for his lackluster performance in NMPD HQ by taking out every enemy fairly well. I decide to let Buck figure out his own target priority and we make it through to the Scorpion. Obviously I'm going to keep the Goshawk because if I drive the tank, I can't shoot it, and I'm pretty sure that Buck doesn't even drive anything, like you can't make him drive any vehicles. But oh boy, Buck and Dare complain about me not taking the tank.
Captain's right, trooper. We're gonna need that tank.
Normally, the Scorpion is used to kill every ghost in these phantoms before they're dropped off in the next section, and I try my best to make Buck kill the ghost or even a phantom, but he lets every single one fly on by. I have never encountered this before, and I got shredded by the ghosts. To survive this encounter, I bailed from the Puma and let Buck soak all of the shots while I hid behind a car. The last highway encounter is this massive infantry horde, and I drive as carefully as I can to not hit any enemies. There's really no threat here, so I let Buck go wild one last time. Our final pacifist challenge lies in Last Exit. I prep by getting 1 carbine, 2 carbine, scaring the grunts, 1 sniper, give Dare a carbine, and 2 rockets. My goal is to body block Virgil while Dare and Buck do all of the work. It does get hairy a few times, but the lovebirds fight pretty well actually. But in typical fashion for this run, I need to kite the enemies into my allies to finish the fight. All that remains is 3 brutes and a hammer chieftain. I try making the brutes charge at me, but they don't take the bait. I also try punching my friends forward, which also doesn't work. In a weird maneuver, I go to where the Jackal snipers camp in the back of the map, because I thought that the brutes might aggro onto me and therefore walk up the stairs, which will get them in direct line of sight to Buck and Dare. Surprisingly, it was the chieftain who took the bait and got absolutely melted, and so I guess his brutes just wanted to meet him in the afterlife and got melted too. Our Phantom flies away and our pacifist run comes to an end. Oh, and as a reminder, I didn't get these kills, Buck did. So, how much of a pacifist was I? In total, I killed 1 engineer, 2 engineer houses, 12 grunts, 8 drones, 2 jackals, and 5 brutes. Not only was my Kizingo file broken, but all my theater files crashed in less than a minute, so I had to play the game again and count up every enemy, so this might not be an exact count of my specific run. The enemies I left unharmed were 1 Scarab, 7 Choppers, 10 Hunters, 13 Phantoms, 16 Ghosts, 19 Wraiths, 19 Shades, 20 Engineer Houses, 30 Engineers, 37 Banshees, 118 Drones, 1 NMPD Officer, 210 Jackals, 339 Brutes, and 412 Grunts. Over the course of the run, I killed 28 enemy units and didn't touch 1,120 of them. I'd say that's a successful pacifist run for the ODSTs of Alpha 9. Thanks for watching.